Hey y'all, it's Burgess Taylor, or Journey with Burgess, and today we are going to talk about my favorite art and journal supplies, along with what would be my essentials, the things I use all the time. Sometimes those aren't the same thing. I have some favorites that I haven't used in quite a while because I've been trying other things or trying some of my same things but in different ways. So we're going to get started, and I have drawn it in pencil. And now I'm going to draw it in pen, and we're going to watercolor. And I'm going to talk about what my favorites are. So one of my very favorites as far as fine liners go, drawing pens, is Faber-Castell's line. There are uni pens, which I like. The Tombow Mono fine liners I like. And quite a few others. Statler, Copic, and I did not draw these true to size. Some are, some aren't. I just had fun drawing. I wanted it to be fun when I did this. So as you can see, this is a Rotary Tiki ballpoint pen, and I have the Rotary Tiki 0.5 mechanical pencil. I also have the Eno, the Pilot color Eno pencils. I really like these. I have the set of them, but I chose to just have a few out. It's October, and I've been using a lot of purples and oranges as far as pencils go. And I also really love the Prismacolor pencils. And a lot of times I'll use just a regular number 2 pencil. Next on the list would have to be fountain pens. My favorite fountain pen of all time for writing would be the TWSBI 580 AL, I think is the one. It's got a medium nib, and I love the way that writes for handwriting. For drawing, it would be the Platinum Carbon Desk Pen. For other, like, note-taking, not handwriting, but just regular notes, or a lot of times I'll use the Pilot, I think it's the Decimo or the Vanishing Point. And I also really love the TWSBI Eco. I have several different TWSBIs. I have the TWSBI Classic, which I absolutely love. I like a smooth writing pen. I don't like a scratchy writing pen. I like the TWSBIs because they're really smooth. The Pilots are really smooth. I have 2 Pilot Pereiras, and a fine and a medium, and then the Pilot Vanishing Point. And every now and again, sometimes the pens don't want to work right. If you've got an ink that has sort of a sediment, like the sketch ink or the platinum carbon ink, but that just requires you to clean the nibs much more often and to clean inside the pen much more often. So next on my list would be probably markers, and I'd have to say the Crayola Super Tips and the Tombows, but I love my Crayola Super Tips. I have the whole caboodle. So next would be washi tape, and then everyday ephemera. I like things that are part of everyday life, like a ticket stub that you get from somewhere, or a brochure that you get from somewhere you went, or the menu from the Chinese food restaurant we ate at, or the coloring paper that they gave us when we went to a restaurant with Victor. I like pictures. I like packaging that comes in the mail. When I get Happy Mail, or I like envelopes, all kinds of things that are part of like regular everyday life. I do on occasion order some things, but mostly I use everyday ephemera. I do like some stickers though. I just can't afford them the way that I would like. Scissors, my very favorite scissors would probably be the Fiskars. They're the orange ones that I have. Next on the list of favorite things would be my watercolors. I have several different watercolors. I like Schmincke the best. It's smooth and buttery. Daniel Smith would be next. I like the way that Daniel Smith's granulates, so it depends on what I'm watercoloring, what I'm doing, as to which one I'd rather. I tend to sometimes alternate because I end up using a combination of the two of them sometimes. Like I have the box that I drew, my little black Schmincke one. It's, well, I guess I should say it's the medium one. I have a combination of handmade watercolors and Daniel Smith and Schmincke in there. My Dust Catch, my Mono Dust Catch eraser. It's one of my favorites. And then the Kneadable eraser. I have one by Faber-Castell and it is awesome. I have a mister that came from Dollar Tree and I love that thing. For a long time I didn't really use it with watercolors, and then I realized what a big difference it made, and now I use it quite a bit. I really like the sketch ink. It's such a pretty charcoal gray kind of color, but it, like I said, it does get a little sticky in a fountain pen, I guess. Well, not sticky, but for whatever reason, not all fountain pens like that ink, and so they don't really want to work, so you have to kind of clean the nib. I dip the nib in a little bit of water and wipe it off, and then it'll work fine. but I guess they clog up the nib, that certain kinds of ink sometimes. I like my water brushes, the actual watercolor brushes. Those are probably the Silver Black Velvet would be my favorites, along with the Escoda. I have a couple of different, have two Escoda Perla regular watercolor brushes, and then I have the travel watercolor brushes, which are several different kinds. The Pearl, I have one Reserva and some others. I'm trying to think of what that's called. Ultimo. I have 3 or 4 different ones, like depending on the size. I also have to say that my very favorite brush lately has been the Rosemary & Co brush. It has a sort of angled tip and it works really well for detail, and it's a really pretty brush, travel brush. Uhu glue stick would be my favorite glue stick. I also like Elmer's with the triangular shaped top. It makes gluing corners really easy, as well as the Neo Color 2s. I really like those. I've been trying to use a variety of different things. I got a small set of the Neo Color 2s, and I've been trying to play around with them for certain background kind of things or larger items. I think the next video I do with some watercolor and stuff like that, I think I'm gonna show those because I'm still kind of learning how to use those, so it's good to practice with them. I really like the Rotary and Tiki graphic fine liner pigment liners. The pens are drawing pens. They're really, it took me a little tiny bit to get used to them. They're really wet in the beginning. They work great. I think sometimes the things that we love, like for the longest time, Derwent Inktense pencils were my very favorite thing. Now don't get me wrong, I still like them, especially when I'm doing certain things and I need like a really vibrant, bold look to certain things. They work fabulous, but I don't use them the way that I did in the very beginning, and I just talked about this recently in the live chat that I did. You know, I actually, back in the day, you know, a lot of people were saying if you're going to get it, you need to go ahead and get the 72 count. Well, to be honest, I'm glad I didn't get the 72 count because I have 24 of them and I don't use them enough to warrant having spent the kind of money on the 72 count until later, when I know, 1, I could afford getting the 72 count, and 2, then I'm going to use them like at least once a week or so. And for a long time, I was using them like almost every day. I have gotten more into watercolor, the actual watercolor, and less into the watercolor markers or watercolor pencils. But I do like to practice with them some, and I've noticed that since I got the Derwent watercolor pencils, and I also have Prismacolor watercolor pencils, that I use them sometimes to highlight things or to kind of finish like the details of things, and the Prismacolor pencils work as well for that. But the only time I really do that much in my journal, I do it sometimes in my sketchbook, or I'll do it like with doodles. If it's something I'm gonna scan, if it's something that I'm gonna make for somebody else. Okay, next on the list would be the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. I like that for white. And I like gouache, okay, but I found that Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White works much better for me. I do use the white gouache a little bit, but next on my list would be sketchbooks. And I have to say that Stillman & Burns, any one of theirs really, as well as the Field Artist brand of sketchbooks, and the Handbook by Global Art Materials. I also have a Moleskin and a few other different kinds of watercolor sketchbooks, and I don't, if I had to, I mean, definitely Stillman & Burns would be my favorite out of all of the sketchbooks that I've owned so far. I haven't tried like Arches or anything. I do like the big Canson and the there's another brand, Strathmore. Those are the two that I use for the bigger. I have bigger. Those are spiral bound. Most of them, some of them are made like a tablet, not like a digital tablet, but like a old regular tablet, like a where you flip the page up, and you can tear them out. They're perforated. I do like those a lot, and I use those for the bigger pieces that I do. So next on the list would be, I don't use a whole lot of stencils. I do have some that have circles, and I do have some that have like that are bullet journal stencils, and I'll use those sometimes. I have stamps, but I can't remember the last stamp I used other than my date stamp. I do like the little alphabet stamps, and I probably need to get those out and enjoy using those. I do enjoy using those and use them some more. My Prismacolor black pencil sharpener would be my favorite pencil sharpener. Out of the other pens, the Uniball Eye. Man, I love that pen. I forgot about that pen. I also like the Uniball Signo .38, and I've just recently started using the Muji pens, and they work pretty well for just writing, but I haven't found them to be all that waterproof. It's like they're a little bit water resistant, but they're not actually waterproof. At least the ones I have aren't. I still on occasion use my Jane Davenport watercolors. I have the bright and the neutrals, and I really love them. They're so colorful and so vibrant. I need to actually start using them a little bit more. I have the Caran d'Ache gouache in the pan. I like them, but I haven't used them very often, and I probably ought to use them more often too. So those are some of the favorites, but they're not, like I said, necessarily the ones that I use the most. I used to use the Sharpie fine liner pen all the time, and then I found out that they're maybe not so archival, you know, and acid free and all that important stuff like the Microns and the Faber-Castells and the Staedtler, the Copics, and you know, I don't know, sometimes a fine liner is a fine liner, and I have a tendency to write pretty hard, so sometimes I mess up the tips. And I found that the Microns and the Faber-Castells, they work great except for that like 0.01. I can seriously mess up a 0.01, and I have yet to find one that doesn't get messed up really. I have one of those Fudinesque pens like for lettering, but I don't right now. I know it's in my pencil case, the real big one, but I haven't really gotten it out in a while and used it. I love my jelly rolls, and I love my mild liners. I use the mild liners pretty much every single day. I use my watercolors every single day. I use at least a few fountain pens and some kind of pen like the Uniball I Micro or the Uniball Signo .38. Sometimes I use big ballpoints, or I use the ballpoint pens that I got with the Hobonichis. Those are the ones that have the black, the red, and the blue. I like to draw and doodle with a ballpoint pen, but I don't really care much to write with a ballpoint pen. I'm a fountain pen and then a gel, and I'm not exactly sure what kind of pen it is that Uniballs are. I don't know exactly, but I love them. I like a felt tip okay. Oh, Tombow correction tape has become my new best friend, and I really like the Tombow adhesive, and my Polaroid zip has become like such a wonderful thing. It works really well with my phone, and I don't have any issues with it. I've realized that I'm going to have to get some more paper pretty soon, because and I've been thinking about doing a photo a day for next year. A photo a day, a drawing a day, 365 if I can. I'm not going to beat myself up if there's a day where I don't have a picture or a day where I don't have a drawing, but I really would love to. And I'm debating on whether I want to make it a goal, or, you know, I mean, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to take a picture every day. It's the drawing every day I'm not quite so sure about, but I think I ought to be able to, you know, even if it's just a little doodle. I had spread out some of the tools, some of these supplies, when I started this video, and that's because I wanted to show them, and they're going to be in the YouTube preview video. And I'm hoping that video turns out okay, but I wanted y'all to see this. And I started it out with introducing myself like I would for a YouTube video, but I realized I really didn't want to show the watercolor so much unless I super time-lapse this, and I may do that and change the chat. I don't know, we'll see. But I hope that you enjoy this. I'm going to speed this up a little bit and let y'all in with some music in case you want to kind of journal yourself. And I'll see y'all again soon. Thanks y'all. Bye.